So, what do we have here, Ian? Well, we have a 1980 GL1100 Goldwing. Okay, so about a year ago, I think, probably now, I bought a fully dressed Goldwing cheap, right, for like $600-700 in Fort Collins. Guy had lost interest in it, blah blah blah. So anyway, got it running, did all that sort of stuff, and traded it for this thing, and about $1,500, and this was fully faired, all right. So, and then I thought it didn't run that great, so I thought, oh, what should I do with it? But I thought I'll see if I can make it in some sort of, like, you know, cafe racery naked thing. So it didn't run great, so I banged a load of sea foam in the tank, and then I'll tell you what I did, because I didn't like the throttle response. Took these off, polished the inside of them so the slides go up and down, and that seemed to make a lot of difference. And then basically riding it after about 200 miles, it rode really nice. So anyway, so I started, I thought I'd do this like big video on how to make your Goldwing into a naked Goldwing, but in the end I couldn't be arsed, so I'm just doing this one here. But it's really, really easy to make something like this, and I'll just say at this point that if this had a better looking seat on it, it'd probably be a better looking bike. But you know, those nice custom kind of cafe seats on eBay go for a couple of $100, and I just didn't, and bear in mind this thing owes me nothing. I didn't want to spend that money on it. So what I did was I just started pulling stuff off it, and what's really interesting is you know, I was able to do this and ride the thing to work at the same time as well. At no point was it ever off the road. So the first thing you did was pull, because it was fully faired, and I had a picture, but all my pictures disappeared off my computer. Good job I had them backed up, but I haven't got them to hand. But so what I did was, the first thing I did was pulled off the trunk and the saddlebags and all that sort of stuff, and I sold it, right? Then the second thing is I mounted a shorter rear fender. This fender's off a CX500, Honda CX500, and it bolts in at the same bolt holes there, right? And then you have to, like, it moves up and down a little bit, so you have to tighten it up really tight. And then I think the tail light's off the same thing, or it might be I might have put a Goldwing tail light on this. Okay, so I had that fender lying around, so that's kind of the back end sorted out. All right, and then what I did is I put these short pipes on it. Now what you'll need, because the GL1100 has like integrated downpipes and silencers, what you'll need to do is get some downpipes off a GL1000. So anything will do it 75 to 79, okay? And then what you can do is you get these. This is the most expensive thing. These cost me about $70 for a pair. These little Emgo kind of slip-on silencer things, and basically I use a big U-clamp and tighten the fuck out of it to get it on there, and then just bolt them up, and they bolt on, right? Now what I did notice, on the 1000 you don't have this problem, but obviously the frame gets in the way on the 1100, because if you look, the pipe's at slightly different heights, so the one on the left is being pushed down slightly. So you could make an extension, or you could do whatever, but I was going to do that, but I was doing this on the cheap and easy. So that was the pipes, man. That was easy. It had floorboards, so I took them off, put some original pegs on it, and then I took the passenger pegs off. And then it had all the covers and all the shrouds. I just took them off. So I took off the engine bars, I took off the radiator shrouds, all of them. I took off one of the horns, I took off the chrome trims off the carbs. I just took off anything that didn't really need to be there, okay? So you see, you know, there's all these bracketry, and you can see a witness mark of where stuff's been, and there's all stuff and shrouds around the radiator and that. That's that. The brakes on this were particularly poor, and I think it's just old age, because it's almost like the hoses are just too spongy. So what I did is I did upgrade the master cylinder to an ST1100 one. The good thing about, and they're cheap, man, on eBay used, it was like $15. So the good thing about the master cylinder is it's got this adjustable span lever. The bad thing about it is it doesn't have a mirror mount. So this thing has knee mirrors on it, so you just have to keep looking behind you. Then on the front, this is the fender off a VF750 Sabre, okay? Again, about $25 on eBay, something like that, right? And all I did to mount it was I got some little pieces of aluminium, and I cut them off, and I basically screwed them in there and then bolted the fender to it there to get the fender to sit at the right angle and the right height. You could probably clean them up and make them rounded and paint them up or do whatever the fuck you want, but I just, again, you know, I was doing it on the cheap and easy. And again, you know, ripped the fairing off one evening, took off the shroud that went around the back of the gauges. But one thing you have to do about these is the headlights, right? Now, you know, headlight ears for a GL1100 are pretty hard to find, and the 1000cc ones don't fit, and they only came on the naked ones, right? Because the rest had a fairing and stuff like that. So what I did was I found these on eBay about 15-20 bucks, something like that, and I put them on, and then this is actually a proper GL1100 or GL1000 headlight with the chrome ring, so it's got a decent headlight on it, and I painted it. It's meant to be black, and it turned into be like brown, and then it kind of, or purpley brown. It kind of matches the tank, which is kind of faded OEM colours. You know, other than that, that's really all I did. Like I said, this thing stands me no money, and especially when I sent all the I listed all the, you know, the baggage and stuff like that on eBay. Saddlebags don't sell, but trunks usually do, and some other things. Maybe he's got a motorcycle part. Just stick it down there, mate.
Stick it right?
Yeah, there you go. That'll do.
All right, have a good one.
Cheers, see ya. And that's all I did to it. So, like I said, the only thing that we could really do with CB750 bars as well. So these are like, they're just called CB750 bars because they're standard fitment on CB750. What you do find when you do this is you have to put the cables out of the way, because the cables are like not overly long, but they're designed for longer bars. So you know, you get this loop on the throttle cable, and you get this you get the clutch cable tends to kind of ride up a little bit. But if you can live with that, again, because you do it on cheap. Now, I was going to put like turn signals and shit on it, and I had these little tabs that I got somewhere that bolt into the triple clamps, and then have a thing for a turn signal, but I just never got round to it. And I'm actually selling this, and the guy's meant to be coming up tonight, and I'm asking like 950 bucks for it, because it doesn't owe me anything. It's got a few miles on it. It's got like 63,556. Don't know if that's accurate, because that is not the right gauge, because a Goldwing does not redline at 9 3/4. It redlines at about 7.5. So what you end up with? Well, you end up with a... on this one actually I had to change out the shaft drive as well, because that was all leaking and fucked up. So I just had one lying around off another bike. So what you end up with is a bike that's really pleasant to ride. And I'll tell you what, even though the seat is the OEM seat and it doesn't look great, that pad, it's really comfortable, and the riding position is just super nice. So you end up with something that's got a lot of throttle pickup, sounds pretty good, does 45 plus to the gallon, and it actually rides really nice. Like I said, the brakes are very marginal on this. I roughed up the back pads. It could probably do some new pads, and I think the hose is a shot. If you go on eBay, you can buy braided steel. I think I've got one here lying amongst all the other shit in the garage. But you can get these type of braided steel brake hoses off of eBay, and you specify your length, and they're about like 10 bucks. So you don't have to buy an Air Equip or a Goodrich hose or anything like that. Yeah, bollocks to that. That's all I did. Like I said, and today this hadn't been out for about 6 or 8 months, and the battery was done. So I got a new battery again off of eBay. A Goldwing battery is like 50 bucks, so a lot more expensive from other places. and then I had to. No, it's a long story. I won't bore you with. But anyway, I had to do a couple of other things on it, and it's running. So I put about 95 miles on it today. So I'm going to fire it up. And again, this is actually one of the nicest riding Goldwing 1100s I've had, and it was not throttle response. A lot of that is presumably down to the fact that it doesn't have like an extra 100 pounds of shit hanging off it. And I meant to weigh everything, like the fairing and the saddlebags and stuff, but you've got to think you're looking at 100 pounds, because they have a big counterweight that bolts on here. Again, you see witness marks on the forks where it was attached. But so I'll just fire it up, and it'll fire first click, and it'll rumble really nice. really nice sound coming out of it. Again, this individual one runs a little bit hot. It tends to run about here, and so the temperature gauge just should sit at that line there. But other than that, like I say, it's a really nice bike to ride town. I've had it up to about around town. I've had it up to probably what would be about 100, and even though the clock doesn't go that far, you know, and that's probably as much as you'd want to take it. But it's just really nice to ride, and this is a simple, ever so simple conversion. So remember, CX500 rear fender, CB750 bars, headlight off like a GL1000, a VF750 Sabre front fender, Emgo pipes, GL1000 downpipes, and that's your lot, man. You know, and like I said, you just end up with something that's a little bit different. And if you wanted to buy a seat, say there's custom cafe seats. Hang on, getting a bit thirsty. Dale's Pale Ale for anybody who doesn't drink it. It really is the fucking elixir of life. And in the last couple of days, fixed the Mercedes, so I put a new alarm beeper on that, so now the alarm works properly. And the old Buick overheated, or didn't overheat, but it started getting hot, and it turned out it was the cam chain tensioner pulley was fucked. And the bearing had popped out and the wheel had gone, so fixed both those cars this week and got this bad boy running. So like I say, I put it on Craigslist for $950 because I just wanted to turn it quick, and I don't have room in the garage. And the usual like, oh yeah, I'll come up, I'm out of my way, I'm coming, and never heard anything since. So it'll sell. I've got people lined up to buy it. So yeah, like I said, you could do this. You could do this on the cheap. You really could. This stands with nothing, but I'd say with the fenders, the pipe, the headlights, the bars, which is pretty much all I spent on it. You're looking at about what, $200 maybe. And then and as I say, the expensive bit's the seat. If you want to find a nice kind of nice cafe seat, and if you do that, you might want to think about the back end, because it won't be as bulbous as the back, and it might not come, you know, you might think about moving the fender back. I don't know, but I kind of, like I said, I kind of like the lines of this one. It'd look a lot better without the big seat. What to look out for on GL1100s? Smoke, rattles, charging, but the motors are never the problems. Just make sure it runs well enough, and it handles. This handles really nice. It's obviously got decent. The guy got it off. I had it since new, and it got decent head bearings in it and decent tyres as well. The one thing I noticed is that it does when you give it a handful on the brakes, it does dive quite a bit. So I should maybe put some air in the forks. Just put some air in the forks there. And that's all. I can't. Like I said, I can't really say anything else about it, but you know, the $250 you will spend on the parts you need will be recovered by selling all the other odds and ends off it. You know, so it won't really cost you any money. And like I said, the guy just texted me he was coming to buy it, and he said, oh, I'm trying to get there. So we'll see. Anyway, that was it. So 1980 GL1100. And like I said, they make a nice bike. They run really nice, and it's kind of, again, naked wings are a bit different. You know, they've got a big sticky out engine and stuff like that. It's just a little bit, but you know, cheap, man. I mean, cheap looks, really. Cheap thrills. There you go. Cheap thrills on Memorial Day weekend.